Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rouleau. Finally, someone willing and able to blow the top off hidden healthcare and hospital dangers. She's provocative, upbeat, balanced, fearless, fresh. Pat has over 20 years of experience as a professional public speaker and knows how to approach this important subject with enough humor and wit to keep you informed, entertained, and empowered. Each week you will say, "Oh," as Pat explores and exposes little-known hospital hazards, delves into the deep waters of dangerous healthcare practices, picks the brains of her good-looking and influential guests to help keep you and your family safe in today's fragmented healthcare system. The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Rouleau.
Hello, I'm Pat Rouleau, and I'm so happy you joined me today. These weeks just fly by, and I always have so much I want to share with you. And today we have a lot to cover. I have an interesting hazard that causes some people anxiety, and a guest who is here to talk a bit about the hospital bacteria MRSA, a staph infection that's resistant to antibiotics. And of course, we'll play one of our favorite games, so you know the drill. First, grab a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. You just might want to take notes. Then sit back in your favorite comfy cozy seat, turn off that darn cell phone, and enjoy this next hour with me. I'm glad you're here. So let's get started, because right now it's time for the healthcare hazard of the week. Phantom vibrations and phantom ringtones, called faux cell alarms, that's F-A-U-X, faux cell alarms, and ringxiety. These two mashed up terms describe the sensation and the false belief that one can hear his or her cell phone ringing or feel it vibrating, when in fact the telephone is not doing anything at all. Have you ever had the sensation that your cell phone is ringing or vibrating when it's not? If so, you may have ringxiety. While it's not your normal healthcare hazard, it is clearly a new sensation that is indicative of a much more serious problem. And you've heard me talk about the health hazards associated with cell phone use. Just 2 minutes on a cell phone opens the blood-brain barrier, allowing toxins and blood proteins to enter the brain, to disrupt brain signals and damage neurons in the thinking and memory centers. This barrier is there to protect our brains from such invasions, yet the frequencies emitted from cell phones have been shown to cause that barrier to open and leak unwanted toxins directly into the brain it's supposed to protect. Well, back to the phantom ringing called ringxiety. A Dr. David Laramie from California School of Professional Psychology is the originator of the term and the experience ringxiety. According to Dr. Laramie, people have grown emotionally dependent on cell phones for feelings of self-worth or for needing to be connected. Some experts think that ringxiety is a need to feel popular, while sound experts believe hearing sounds that seem like a telephone's ring send an expectant brain into action, a checking the phone reflex, so to speak. Whatever the origin, it appears that these needs cause people to be so desperate not to miss a call that they hear phones ringing or feel phones vibrating even when they are not. Phantom ringing may be experienced while taking a shower, watching television, or using a noisy device. Humans are particularly sensitive to auditory tones between 1,000 and 6,000 hertz, and basic cell phone ringers often fall within this range. This frequency range can generally be more difficult to locate spatially, thus allowing for potential confusion when heard from a distance. A new study found that 2/3 of people surveyed reported hearing their phone ring or feeling it vibrate when it had not actually rung. The more frequently a person uses their phone, the more often they report hearing a phantom ring, the study found. These participants, 67% of the people surveyed, had higher monthly charges, used more minutes, sent more text messages, and showed higher levels of impulsivity. The study also shows that some people rely on their mobile phone to regulate moods and maintain social connectedness. Those people who prefer to use their phones for text messaging rather than talking evidenced higher levels of loneliness, social anxiety, and problem phone use. Additional evidence suggests that people feel the phone is a part of them and that they're not whole without their phones, since the phones connect them to the world, according to B.J. Fogg, Director of Research and Design at Stanford University's Persuasive Technology Lab. As human beings, we're so tapped into our community, responsiveness to what's going on, we're so attuned to the threat of isolation and rejection, we'd rather make a mistake than miss a call, he said. Our brain is going to be scanning and scanning and scanning to see if we have to respond socially to someone. Some sound experts believe that because cell phones have become a fifth limb for many, people now live in a constant state of phone vigilance. And this is weird. Some people also claim to pre-feel a new message or a call. They think they feel it, look at the phone, it's not vibrating, then it starts vibrating. Ah, they are one with their BlackBerry. And for some, it's a matter of projecting hope onto their wireless device, considered anticipatory vibrations. Well, sadly, because studying our own health has taken such a back seat to technological advances, we could very well be causing our own health issues. And sadly again, ringxiety will be the least of our problems. I have the opposite of ringxiety. My phone is never on. Rather, I check it twice a day and then turn it off. And as soon as my contract is up, out the door it goes. Life is crazy enough without worrying about phantom rings and faux alarms. Come on, people, practice safe phone. And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. You've heard me talk about my attorney friends at Schraff & King, and I know many of you have taken my advice and contacted them to help you with your advance directives. Things like a healthcare power of attorney, living will, help with information about the Do Not Resuscitate form, and more. Attorneys certified in elder law offer you something that other attorneys do not. So don't go anywhere else. Contact the folks at Schraff & King today. They're located in Willoughby Hills, just south of State Route 6 and Interstate 91. And you can call them at 440-585-1600. That's 440-585-1600. Or visit them online at schraffking.com, SCHRAFFKING, schraffking.com. And be sure to let them know that you heard about them here on Speak Up and Stay Alive. Again, it's 440-585-1600, 440-585-1600. Call them today. After the show, be sure to visit the website speakupandstayalive.com for more life-saving information. Before a hospital stay pops up unexpectedly in your life, you can purchase the book Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. It's found exclusively at the website speakupandstayalive.com or is available in person at all of our speaking events. Buy one for yourself, send one to your future advocate, and keep another handy to give to your doctor and give them away to family and friends. To help your entire group, club, organization, or church stay safe during any healthcare or hospital experience, you can invite me to speak. Our presentations are lively, interactive, fast-paced, and about as fun as hospital safety can be. Email us at speakupandstayalive.com or call 440-725-5462. You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. I am Pat Rouleau, your hostess, and today's guest is an expert on a topic that we tend to dismiss as, it won't happen to me, it's not such a big problem, when in fact, healthcare-acquired superbug infections such as MRSA are out of hand. And that is why I am bringing you the best of the best when it comes to our guest, Jeanine Thomas, founder of the MRSA Survivors Network, the first consumer organization in the United States to raise the alarm alarm concerning MRSA. Jeanine started her advocacy work after being critically ill and nearly dying of a MRSA infection, contracted during ankle surgery, and was ill for several years with recurring infections. This prompted her to create the MRSA Survivors Network to give support to other survivors and their family members. Jeanine was selected as a patient champion by the World Health Organization's World Alliance for Patient Safety for her work promoting patient safety. We can't ask for a more knowledgeable source than this. Welcome to the show, Jeanine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Well, let's just get to it. Can you explain to our listeners what is MRSA and what causes it?
MRSA is a antibiotic-resistant organism that is found in healthcare facilities and now in the community.
So it's not only in hospitals and doctors' offices, it's found out in the real world.
Yes, it's found just about everywhere, and it's found in humans and in animals.
Well, can you share your story? I highlighted just a bit of it. Can you maybe share a little bit with us as to what happened to you to cause you to become an advocate?
Sure. In December of 2000, I slipped on ice, and I broke my ankle, and I had to have hardware put in. And when I had hardware put in, I was infected with MRSA during surgery. And then I had complications, and I became very, very sick, and it went into my bloodstream, which is MRSA sepsis. And I nearly died, and I had to have 7 more surgeries to save my leg from amputation. After I went through all of that, I also had C. difficile, which is another infection, very common after having so many antibiotics. So it was a really long journey, and then MRSA moved into my sinuses, and that was for 3-4 years. I had MRSA sinus infections. It was a very long, long journey.
They didn't even let you know for a while that it was a MRSA staph infection?
Right. My doctors in the hospital never told me that I had MRSA or MRSA sepsis, and I didn't find out till I was home recuperating, and I found out from another friend that her mother had MRSA and had died, and my friend thought this is what I had, and then I contacted my infectious disease doctors, and they told me that I had it. My surgeon never told me I had it, and that's sort of common back then.
And how is it transmitted?
It's transmitted by contact. You touch a surface that somebody had touched that had MRSA, and then you touch your eyes, or you have a microcut in your hand, and you can be colonized with MRSA. It's on your skin, in your nose, and be asymptomatic and never get an infection. But then there are those people who will, and you are a carrier. You spread that if you are colonized with MRSA.
And what are the physical symptoms? How would you know if you had MRSA?
If you were colonized, there is no symptoms. You wouldn't know it. 30% of people carry staph on their skin with no problems. But if you have a MRSA infection, it can manifest itself in many different ways. Sometimes it looks like a spider bite. It can look like a little infection. It can be a boil. It can manifest itself inside your body and without a fever. So there's many different ways that it can manifest and that you don't know that you have an infection. If you had a breakout with some sort of type of rash, it could be redness, you have a cut, definitely go to your family physician and have it cultured, because you want to know that you get on the right antibiotic for this, not on an antibiotic that wouldn't work. So it's very important that you be very proactive about looking at your skin, seeing if there's any little bumps, redness, because this could be MRSA. Now family physicians are seeing 50 to 60% of all skin infections, they are MRSA now.
Why is that?
Because it has spread. I think 1974, 2% of all the staph infections were MRSA, which is methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, means it's antibiotic resistant. Now it is 70%. So it has mutated because we continually use all these antibiotics in feed and in animals and certainly in the healthcare industry on humans. And this continues to allow staph to mutate and become more antibiotic resistant.
So what is the treatment? Are there antibiotics that do work?
There are antibiotics that do work for skin infections, and there are IV antibiotics. There's last resort antibiotics. So there's 4 now. You have community-acquired strains and hospital-acquired strains, which are now commingling within healthcare facilities.
And maybe that's because we've got healthcare providers wearing scrubs outside of the hospitals and bringing them back in. Is that a problem?
That is one major problem, definitely, that you have healthcare workers, like you said, going out, going to the grocery store before or after work, going to the daycare center, to the gym, and their clothes. MRSA can live on 4, 5, 6 weeks on an inanimate object in your clothing and be active. So, therefore, it can be spread all over. Also, family members who come into a hospital to visit can pick it up also. So it's people coming in and out of any type of healthcare facility can spread that.
And I always suggest to our folks that if you're visiting someone in the hospital, when you get home, to change your clothes outside the back door, not to come in and plop on your sofa, because who knows what type of bacteria you might have on your clothing.
Yes, definitely. Wash your hands right away, and I would leave your shoes at the door and wash your clothes, because hospitals are full of microbes. Healthcare facilities are not decontaminating frequently touched surfaces the way that they should be.
Right, right. Well, now we talked about some of the physical symptoms. I'm going to imagine that there are psychological aspects with having a MRSA infection. Can you share some of that with us?
Yes, the psychological aspects are what really is not being addressed by the medical community. If people are very traumatized, having going through a horrific infection, they suffer from post-traumatic stress from many surgeries or just from the pain of the infections and recurring infections. They also have anxiety because they don't know if they're going to get over it, and especially if it comes reoccurring, there's anger. So there's a lot of different psychological aspects, and depression. Clinical depression is probably the number one with post-traumatic stress that is very prevalent in MRSA survivors and victims, and I urge them to go get medical help, because you don't want this to become chronic if you're not treated.
That's something that I've never really heard people talk about before.
Yes, I think I'm the only one talking about it because I personally experienced that, so I know, and I have a crisis hotline, the only one in the U.S., so I talk to patients, survivors, caregivers, families every day, and they are struggling to be able to get back their life. Even if they've been cured for a while and didn't have an infection, they still have all of these psychological problems, and they feel that nobody's talking about it, so that they feel that it's just them, but it's not. It's very, very common to have all of these types of psychological problems arise from an infection.
Can you share with us that hotline number?
Yes, my hotline number is 630-325-4354.
So if our listeners have this situation themselves, family members, people they know, they can feel free to contact you about some of these issues.
Sure.
So, Jeanine, MRSA then is a treatable disease, but an incurable one.
Yes, for many, unfortunately. Nothing kills off the microbe. It will go dormant, so people can be colonized internally from surgery, or it went into your body, and externally. You can, if you are tested, it's a simple nasal swab that's put into your nose, and you can be tested if you're a carrier. And if you are a carrier, you can be decolonized in 5 days. It's an antibiotic ointment, and then you wash your skin with chlorhexidine. This is what's done in the hospital, but you can do this at home. It cleans all of your skin, and you become decolonized. If you're going in to have a surgery, it's important that you become decolonized, be tested, because you have a 10 to 12-fold greater chance of getting an infection if you're colonized with MRSA.
So if we're entering a healthcare facility for any type of procedure, we should insist on a nasal swab to test for MRSA?
Yes, and it takes clinical culture, it takes 2-3 days to get a result, and then you need a 5-day antibiotic ointment, so you should really get tested 10 days before.
Okay.
Minimum before you go in to have, if you're having especially if you're having a knee replacement, hip replacement, cardiac surgery, anything with an implant is definitely susceptible to an infection.
So we should ask for a MRSA screening. Is there any MRSA report card or something within the hospital that we can ask to find out what the MRSA situation is within any given hospital?
You certainly could call your local hospital and ask them what their MRSA infection rates are.
All right, that, at the very least, that should be done.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We enter a hospital room. Should we be doing anything ourselves to disinfect it, and what should we use?
I think you should really be proactive if you're going into the hospital, because I don't believe that hospitals are decontaminating enough of a room. But you could have been in a room that had a MRSA person, because there really aren't isolation rooms. They're just single rooms. So you could have been in there in a room and somebody before had MRSA. So I suggest to family members that they go in and use type of disinfectant wipes and wipe down frequently touched items like the bed railing, the table tray, the remote, the phone, faucets, light switches, anything that you think you would touch. Really wipe those down. And definitely, you're probably going to touch on this, but hand hygiene.
Yes.
Make sure that if you have an infection, that nobody enters your room without a gloves and gown, and that they wash their hands before, put the gloves on. There's usually now in a lot of healthcare facilities, there's a glove box and there's a hand sanitizer on the wall. But if a healthcare worker puts on the gloves without washing their hands, they've contaminated the box and the gloves, and that doesn't protect you. They've protected themselves, but they haven't protected you. So you really have to speak out, because you're at risk, and say, please wash your hands, and you want to see them do that, then put the gloves on.
Absolutely. So we should feel free to ask our healthcare providers to please wash your hands, and that's difficult to do.
It is. It is very difficult, and unfortunately, I think many older people do not feel comfortable doing that, but if you don't have an advocate there, a family member to do that, you really have to speak out, because you're at risk. You're in a healthcare facility, and you need to have these contact precautions as a barrier to protect you from these organisms.
We touched on it earlier where you said that MRSA can also be found in the community. Where is it most likely to be found, and what can our listeners do to prevent an infection in the community?
Where it's mostly found is in fitness centers, in schools, and in gyms, daycare centers. It likes moist, warm places where, the bacteria can grow. It certainly likes in the shower area and in the locker rooms.
I know when I travel, I carry a canister of bleach wipes and gloves, and I sanitize airplane seatbelts and tray tables and hotel light switches and TV remotes. Am I crazy to do this?
No, because I do that myself.
We're not crazy, right?
There just was a recent study that showed 40% of the tray tables on airplanes had MRSA on it.
Interesting.
So I don't go to the airplane's bathroom unless I absolutely have to.
I agree. Jeanine, there's so much information that we can gather from you here. Where can our listeners learn more about you and your work?
They can at our website at www.mrsasurvivors.org. That is the information, that's our main information.
So I'm going to encourage all of our listeners to head to your website, mrsasurvivors.org?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Jeanine, I thank you for being on our show today, but more than that, I thank you for taking a horrible personal experience and using it to make a positive change to help create and spread awareness and initiate patient rights legislation. You're not only a MRSA survivor, but you are a champion for the rest of us, and I appreciate having you here on the show today.
Well, thank you so much for your kind words.
I'm here with disturbing news about our favorite gadgets, cell phones, tablets, Wi-Fi, etc. Putting it bluntly, they are damaging the living cells in our bodies and killing many of us prematurely. I'm Dr. Martin Blank from the Department of Physiology and Cellular Biophysics at Columbia University. It is distressing for me and more than 160 colleagues who today are petitioning the United Nations requesting that they address this problem. We are scientists and engineers, and I am here to tell you we have created something that is harming us, and it is getting out of control. Before Edison's light bulb, there was very little electromagnetic radiation in our environment. The levels today are very many times higher than natural background levels and are growing rapidly because of all the new devices that emit this radiation. An example that a lot of us have in our pockets right now is the cell phone. One study shows that as cell phone usage has spread widely, the incidence of fatal brain cancer in younger people has more than tripled. We are putting cellular antennas on residential buildings and on top of hospitals where people are trying to get well. Wireless utility meters and cell towers are blanketing our neighborhoods with radiation. It's particularly frightening that radiation from our telecommunication and power line technology is damaging the DNA in our cells. It is clear to many biologists that this can account for the rising cancer rates. Future generations, our children, are at risk. These biologists and scientists are not being heard on the committees that set safety standards. The biological facts are being ignored, and as a result, the safety limits are much too high. They are not protective. More protection will probably result from full disclosure of possible conflicts of interest between regulators and industry. Rising exposure to electromagnetic radiation is a global problem. The World Health Organization and international standard-setting bodies are not acting to protect the public's health and well-being. International exposure guidelines for electromagnetic fields must be strengthened to reflect the reality of their impact on our bodies, and in particular, on our DNA. Although we are still in the midst of a great technological transformation, the time to deal with the harmful biological and health effects is long overdue. We are really all part of a large biological experiment without our informed consent. To protect our children, ourselves, and our ecosystem, we must reduce exposure by establishing more protective guidelines. And so today, scientists from around the world are submitting an appeal to the United Nations, its member states, and the World Health Organization to provide leadership in dealing with this emerging public health crisis.
You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. Now you can join us every Saturday morning in Cleveland, Ohio, or listen to us live online from anywhere in the world at the station's websites. We are also on the XDS Cumulus satellite for every other radio station in the country to pick up. So if you have a friend or a family member in another city or state and would like for them to hear this show, tell them to contact their local program director, and they can very easily pick up this show and add it to their current lineup. I am your hostess, Pat Rouleau, so happy to spend this hour with you to help you survive any healthcare or hospital encounter. Well, it's that time again, game time, and it looks like the boys picked an oldie but goodie from the game chamber, and that is, are you in jeopardy or are you safe? And Eric is on a vacation today, so it's you and me, Bob.
Is Don in the booth? He's ready. Okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, cue lights, music.
Now entering the studio are today's contestants.
Who do we have?
I'm Bob from Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and a former financial planner.
Oh, Bobby, look who just walked in from Dr. Very Busy's office. It's Rush-elle.
Oh gosh, we got Rush-elle here. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Rush-elle, and I work in Dr. Very Busy's office.
Well, you were on the show last week to introduce something or other, wasn't she, Bob?
She did something, but I don't know what it was.
Oh my God, I'm very, very busy. That's why they call me Rush-elle.
Oh, I was going to ask why it's Rush-elle.
Well, are you so busy, Rush-elle, that you can't play this game with us?
That's why I was stopping in to play Jeopardy.
Let's play Jeopardy.
These people will compete today on...
Are you in jeopardy or are you safe? All right, guys. As a reminder, here's how it goes. I will read a statement and you have to decide if you're in jeopardy or if you're safe. And remember, you'll have limited information to make your decision. So in a real life situation, you would ideally have more information to go on in order to make a truly informed decision. All right, you guys ready?
Let's go for it.
I hope I'm ready to play the game. I'll try my best, okay?
All right, Rush-elle. Here we go. The Speak Up and Stay Alive. Question number 1. You haven't seen your primary care physician in a while. You go in for a checkup and the receptionist asks, is your information the same? You say yes and grab the latest scandal magazine and wait your turn. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
I think you're in jeopardy. You got to have more questions answered, and you got to go through a checklist, I think.
Oh my God. Well, I'd say you're in jeopardy for 2 reasons. 1, you always want to get your information. And 2, those magazines are gross, Bob. Think of all the unwashed hands that touch them, huh?
That's the reason you're in jeopardy.
Guys, you're both right. I didn't think of that aspect of it, Rush-elle. Anyway, as the role of electronic health records increases, the integrity of the data becomes an increasingly critical patient safety concern. When designed and implemented well, these IT-based systems should provide complete, current, and accurate information about the patient and the patient's care. However, these complex systems also can create new paths to failure, resulting in incomplete, inaccurate, or out-of-date information. And that can easily happen if the person entering your information makes a mistake or if they copy and paste old information. There's many ways that wrong information can find its way into your records. So ask not only the receptionist to review your information, but once in the exam room, ask your doctor to review your file with you.
That is very, very true.
Oh my God. So many people that come to my Dr. Very Busy's office, they don't ask me anything, and they just want to read those magazines.
Let's go for it again. Let's go to the next question.
Rush-elle, you are funny. Speak Up and Stay Alive. Question number 2. Your child takes a fall while riding his bike. You take him to the hospital and the doctors order a CT scan. Are you, or I should say, is your child in jeopardy or is he safe?
Oh, can I answer that first, Bob?
Go ahead.
Anytime anyone has a CT scan, there's a danger just due to the radiation factor. Albeit it's not a lot, but maybe it is. So, but in most cases, I would say that the benefit outweighs the risk. What do you think, Bob?
I think you're probably right. I'd be very careful on having a CT scan with radiation that it emits.
Oh, God.
Well, the risk actually made the ECRI's Institute's newly released Top 10 Health Technology Hazards for 2014 called Risks to Pediatric Patients from Adult Technologies. Okay? Healthcare technologies are often developed with the needs of adult patients in mind, leaving doctors with little choice but to rely on adult technologies in the diagnosis and treatment of pediatric patients. And CT scans are of particular concern because they deliver a comparatively high dose of radiation and are so widely used. So as a parent, I would ask if that was really necessary, if there was an alternative, and if not, what are they doing to adjust the scan to accommodate the child's small size versus that of an adult?
That is a very good question. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, many people don't think about that.
That's very
Oh my God, I didn't ever think about that.
Oh my gosh. All right, let's speak up and stay alive. Question number 3. You go to your local pharmacy to pick up your prescription. Before handing your medication, your pharmacist asks, "What else are you taking? Let me review the potential side effects of this drug. Here's how to take this pill. And if you have any questions or concern, just call me." With regard to this encounter, are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
It sounds like to me the pharmacist is doing his job right. He's asking the questions. So I'm going to say you're safe more than jeopardy.
Oh, I so agree. That sounds like a really pleasant experience to me, and so I'll say safe as well, right? Right? You think so, Bob?
I think you're right.
All right, guys. Well, that is obviously true, but sadly, I don't think it happens very often. I suggest that if your pharmacist doesn't have a conversation with you, that you ask to have a conversation with him or her. What does take 3 times a day really mean? All at once? Take with food? What is considered food? Coffee? Don't just grab your prescription and run. Get to know your pharmacist and ask for a review and a conversation.
I think I'd call Mary immediately.
Oh, I don't know the gal. Who was that?
Mary Sheehan, she was on the show. So I'd call her.
Absolutely, Mary Sheehan, Prescriptions for Happiness. You're going to have to get to know her, Rush-elle.
Oh my God, I'll have to find out that gal's name.
All right, guys. Here is the Speak Up and Stay Alive. Question number 4. Your dentist recommends a dental implant. You say, okay. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
Oh my God, I know. Once again, I know the answer to this because anytime you have a procedure, there is a chance for a problem. Now, I'm not sure since I don't work in the dental office, but I think that's probably, you should be asking some questions.
I think you're really in jeopardy. Don't let them do anything till you know more about it.
You both are right, guys. You may be safe if you ask the questions. If you don't, who knows what material the implant might contain. Now, while dental implants are traditionally made of titanium, materials such as aluminum and vanadium are also often alloyed with the titanium. Dissimilar metals in the mouth or bone will give off corrosion byproducts which then travel throughout the body. Placing any sort of metal crown upon that implant will also induce corrosion. Also, fluorides, such as found in toothpaste and water, can react to the metals. This chronic exposure can trigger hypersensitivity, inflammation, and allergies, as well as autoimmune disease in people with high sensitivity. Therefore, a serious conversation is in order with your dentist. Ask about zirconia dental implants, as these implants are ceramic, and therefore there is no concern. What do you think of that?
I wished I'd asked that before I had my mouth replaced before.
Oh my God, zirconium. I think my diamond ring is zirconium.
You're in trouble. It's not in your mouth, though.
Oh my God. Bobby, what do you think of this ring, huh?
It's beautiful.
Oh, wow. So glad you showed up, Rush-elle. Thank you. All right, the Speak Up and Stay Alive question number 5. I believe it's the last one. You are digging an underground tunnel in East Africa. Not sure why you would be doing that. You come upon a sand puppy. Are you in jeopardy or are you safe?
Is it the mole rat we came upon? If it is, we're safe.
Oh, my love puppies. So I think a puppy covered in sand sounds very cute. So I'll say safe.
Oh, that's too much.
Oh my gosh, of course you're safe. And just by the way, Rush-elle, a sand puppy is just another fond name for our favorite 2013 vertebrae of the year. And what is it, Bob?
It's your mole rat.
It is the naked mole rat. Too bad Eric's not here. Now, we joke about this odd-looking creature, but I just discovered this. The breakthrough came in a 16-year study of the mole rat, the only animal immune to cancer. This discovery was by an Israeli specialist who hailed just last month as a radical and potentially life-changing study. In a world first, Professor Aaron Avivi and his team found that cells from the naked mole rat secrete a substance that destroys cancer cells in mammals, including humans. Experts think harvesting this substance and making it safe to digest could wipe out a disease that kills 8 million people each year worldwide. The team tested the underground rodents and regular mice and rats with 2 potent carcinogens. Ordinary mice and rats developed tumors. None were found in the naked mole rat.
I think that the naked mole rat might be my hero.
I think you're right. The study, published in the widely respected BMC Biology Journal, concluded naked mole rats are resistant to spontaneous cancer, but also to experimentally induced cancer. I mean, I just finding this amazing. So there you have it.
Oh my God, I never knew about the mole rat. So are there any mole rats in this area?
Yeah, maybe in the local zoo.
But I'm from New York, so are there any in Cleveland?
No, they might be regular rats running around in New York.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, there you have it. We learned a few things today, guys. Do you remember what we learned?
No, I'll let you say that.
Oh, something about dentist offices and something about implants and
Mole rats.
mole rats. Oh my God.
All right, guys. All right. We learned about reviewing our health records, kids and CT scans, the benefits of a chatty pharmacist, metal teeth, and of course, the naked mole rat and the potential cure for cancer. How cool would it be if the naked mole rat really became everyone's hero as the champion cure for cancer?
God, I think it'd be great.
It really would be great. Well, thank you, Bob, for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Rush-elle.
It was such my pleasure to be here. Like I said, I was from Dr. Very Busy's office, and I had the opportunity to get to the Cleveland area, so I came from New York to see what was going on here, because, well, I can't go into all of it on the radio.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rush-elle. We're coming up against a hard break here. And now, folks, don't move an inch. There's so much you can learn about healthcare and hospital safety and the naked mole rat on America's favorite and perhaps only patient safety radio show, Speak Up and Stay Alive, RadiOh.
Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Bob, are we going out now for some drinks?
We'll go get Mexican food, Rochelle.
Oh, I love the margaritas and the
All right, guys.
Let's go for it.
No, sorry.
You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. And it looks like we have time for our newest segment, News and Views I Choose to Share with You. Since I spoke about cell phones today, phantom rings and ringxiety, here's a news article that continues the conversation. It's titled, More Cell Phone Users Are Injuring Themselves While Walking and Talking. Over the past 15 years, cell phone use has increased by 800% in the United States. Cell phone use has been shown to increase the chances of an automobile crash, and a recent Journal of Safety Research study warns pedestrians of walking and talking. Researchers used the National Electronic Injury Surveillance System for emergency department reports of injuries related to phone use, and they identified 310 cases that occurred between 2000 and 2011. I don't know if that was just on one street. Seems like there would be more than that. Anyway, the majority of the patients were female and 40 years of age or younger, and the most common injury was due to a fall. Most patients were treated and released from the emergency department. Thankfully, no patients died from their injuries, and rates have increased over the 12-year period. Not sure what kind of a study that was, but I say, unless you are putting the final touches on the cure for cancer, turn off the phone and put it away. I mean, what are people constantly talking about that they cannot drive or walk across the street without cuddling and caressing their phones? Hi, Susie, I'm crossing Main Street now. Whoa, almost got hit. Oh, and when I cross the street, I'm going to get in my car. Wondering what to have for dinner tonight. And what did Billy say about Wendy? Whoa, yikes, almost fell over the orange barrel I didn't see because I was too busy talking to you about nothing. It's stupid. And speaking of multitasking, here's a recent article titled, Is Texting While Doctoring as Dangerous as Texting While Driving? In the annals In the Annals of Internal Medicine, researchers from the University of Wisconsin labeled texting by physicians as a safety hazard for their patients. They point out that texting while driving is illegal in most states and increases the risk of crashing by a factor of 23. They note that multitasking, doing multiple tasks at the same time, undermines observation, communication, problem solving, and the development of trust between physicians and patients. They point to a study from 2012 that found completion of electronic medical records during patient care by physicians led to a 25% greater chance that depressed patients would not receive depression treatment. It appeared that the excess bedside record keeping inhibited a physician's ability to recognize clues to a patient's mental state. Other studies have found that electronic medical records took up to 44% of an emergency physician's time, such that they only spent less than a third of their time caring for patients, because they are spending an inordinate amount of time filling out medical records for billing purposes, checking boxes to justify care, while limiting the amount of attention given to patients. They conclude that reducing texting while doctoring will decrease the possibility of a distracted physician from making observation and interpretation errors while caring for patients. Well, what do you think about that? Have you encountered the situation where your doctor was too busy entering data into the computer or a handheld device to actually look at you? Well, now apparently, in addition to asking our doctors or nurses to please wash their hands before touching us, we'll have to add, and please look at me too. Wow, some crazy times, huh? Well, speaking of hand washing, here's one. Article says alcohol hand sanitizers do not protect against the common cold. Rhinoviruses are the main cause of the common cold in humans. This virus is thought to spread via respiratory droplets through the air as someone sneezes or coughs, by touching surfaces contaminated or previously touched by those with a cold, and by person-to-person contact. Authors of a study from the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, they looked at the ability of frequent hand washing in the prevention of rhinovirus infections and the common cold during a 9-week period in the fall of 2009. Half of the subjects washed their hands with an alcohol-based antiviral hand treatment every 3 hours. All subjects were checked weekly and during the time of any cold symptoms for the rhinovirus. Surprisingly, hand washing with alcohol-based cleaners did not reduce the number of rhinovirus infections or the number of rhinovirus-related common colds. They found that simply washing with soap and water removed the rhinovirus from the hands in nearly 90% of cases, while alcohol hand sanitizers rarely remove the rhinovirus from hands at all. And that reminds me to remind you that those gels do absolutely nothing to kill the C. diff bacterium that is found in hospitals, nursing homes, and rehab facilities. We've talked about this many times before. So if you or someone you visit has C. diff, and you'll know that if you or they have a rampant and recurring diarrhea, be safe and put a paper bag over the hand sanitizer that is attached to the wall. That's right. Cover it so no one comes in, pumps the gel into their hands, and thinks they've performed a safe practice. Only good old-fashioned hand washing gets rid of the C. diff bacterium. And if you remember nothing else from today's program, remember that. Oh, and in case I forget to mention this next week, Global Hand Washing Day is coming up on October the 15th. Apparently, each year, over 200 million people are involved in celebrations in over 100 countries around the world. So I guess we better plan a hand washing party, offer plenty of pretty soaps and containers, a bowl of mud or dirt, and a sink, and party like it's 1999. I know I'm going to. So just to review, to wash your hands properly, follow these steps. Obviously, you must wet your hands. Cover your wet hands with soap. Scrub all the surfaces, including the palms, the back of the hands, between the fingers, and under the fingernails for 15 seconds. And rinse well with running water so that the water pours back into the sink and doesn't drip back on your clothing. Dry on a clean cloth or by waving your hands in the air while dancing to Prince. Actually, an easy way to gauge 15 seconds is to use a familiar song such as the Happy Birthday song, which when sung twice is about 15 seconds.
I'm Jerry the Germ, here to spread healthcare and hospital safety tips all over the airwaves. Here's our expert, Pat Rulo.
Hey, Jerry, I bet you and your germ friends just run and hide whenever you hear the Happy Birthday song. What do I mean? Oh, yeah, people are finding out that the best way to disinfect their hands is to use good old-fashioned soap and water and a lot of friction. And they know that 15 seconds of scrubbing will do the trick. How long is 15 seconds? Long enough to sing or hum the Happy Birthday song. And long enough to scrub not only the palms, but the tops, sides, in between the fingers, and under the nails. And when folks go to the doctor's office or hospital, they're asking their providers to wash their hands too. Yep, everyone's humming the Happy Birthday song just to get rid of you. For more patient safety tips, visit speakupandstayalive.com. Sorry, Jerry, but you're going down the drain.
Listen to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio. For more information, go to speakupandstayalive.com.
Well, there you have it. Another segment of news and views I choose to share with you. And if you have some news or views you'd like for me to share on this program, email me at pat@speakupandstayalive.com, pat@speakupandstayalive.com, or give me a call, 440-725-5462. You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive Patient Safety Radio. I am Pat Rulo, your hostess and author of the book Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. It's available at all of our live speaking events or at our website, speakupandstayalive.com. And let me remind you, if you are looking for a speaker for your next event or know of someone in charge of a group that needs a speaker, I am always happy to share my expertise with you and your group. We can focus on patient safety and healthcare and hospital hazards or any other variation on healthcare. Or we can also go the other direction and talk about the ill effects of smart meters, cell phones, and other technological gadgets and what you can do to stay safe. My presentations are always fun, fast-paced, and full of information that you will not find anywhere else. So contact me and let's talk about how we could make your next event a memorable and worthwhile experience. Call me at 440-725-5462, 440-725-5462, or email speak@speakupandstayalive.com. Well, today we talked about the newest health hazard called ringxiety. I find it to be quite troubling that as a society we have latched onto this technology as if we have no brains at all. Not only is it utterly senseless and a true waste of time and life to be so involved with a phone that you imagine that you hear it ring and vibrate, but worse, that most people are in such denial about the clear and present dangers these radiation-emitting devices cause. And if you'd like proof, if you'd like to read study after study and view videos about how and why cell phones are literally killing us, go to my newest radio show website, boilthefrogradio.com. boilthefrogradio.com. And then we had an important conversation with our guest, Jeanine Thomas, from the MRSA Survivors Network. She gave us lots to think about when it comes to MRSA, an infection easily found in hospitals, nursing homes, and really also out in the public. Before any surgery, ask your doctor to talk with you about MRSA. Ask, should you have a nasal swab to test for it? And what other precautions are they taking to protect you? And as always, hand washing is a must. Do not let anyone touch you if they have not washed their hands. And then we had a surprise visit from Dr. Very Busy's office in New York, Rush-elle, and it seemed like she liked Bob quite a bit. And I think they both enjoyed the return of Are You in Jeopardy or Are You Safe? Now, if you missed some of today's show, it's not too late to hear it all. We make it easy for you. Simply go to the radio link at the speakupandstayalive.com website. Click the link with today's date, and that's where you can also purchase a copy of my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, the Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. And you can always find audience comments and pictures at the bulletin board link at the speakupandstayalive.com website. And be sure to come back next week. Lots more to share with you, so tell your friends, mark your calendars, and set your battery alarms for next week. Same time, same place, but not the same information. Start your week with an O. Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio. And until next week, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
The information provided in today's broadcast is for informational purposes only and was not intended for use as diagnosis or treatment of a health problem and should not be considered as medical advice. Want even more information? Purchase a copy of Pat's book at speakupandstayalive.com. Or you can call Pat at 440-725-5462. Until next week, remember, it's okay to ask others to wash their hands. You have to speak up and stay alive.
Is your home stressing you out? Are your appliances and gadgets damaging your health? Are you concerned that modern technology could be ruining your and your family's health? Scientific evidence suggests that everyday chronic low-intensity magnetic field exposure poses a possible health risk. Therefore, the conclusion is that magnetic fields remain classified as possibly carcinogenic, meaning they can cause cancer. And what about the radiation levels from wireless computers, routers, cordless phones, baby monitors? So I'm suggesting that you have a healthy home consultation to identify problem areas in your home. The folks at Healthy Home will test the EMF levels in your home using small, specialized equipment, focusing particularly on areas of the home where you spend most time. And then we'll make recommendations about how you can reduce your exposure and minimize the effects on your health. It takes about an hour, and you will be given a comprehensive report that includes full recommendations on how to reduce the negative impacts of EMFs and turn your home into a healthy, healing, and safe environment. Schedule a Healthy Home consultation today, and I'll come too to meet you and share what I know about healthy homes. Call 440-725-5462. That's 440-725-5462. And remember, a healthy home is a happy home.